Hello, welcome back to my channel. Antoinette here. Let's do the tag. I've got a deck for that. This one I believe has been created by this lovely lady here, Angel from Feeding My Soul. And oh, what have I done? I'll just come out that second. Yeah, so Angel from Feeding My Soul has created this tag, and it's got 16 prompts. So that's her channel banner for those of you that would like to see it, and it is called exactly what it says, 16 prompts going through different things in your life, and I'm going to join in. The only thing about these tags are the amount of decks you've got to pull out. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so without much further ado, of course, as always, the links to the original person's videos are down below in the comments section, so if you want to check there, and a reduced version of the prompts, so just down to like the keywords to what the prompts mean. Okay, so you can recognize what you're up to. Now then, deck one, question one. What is, so a deck that represents my favorite movie genre? I pulled two decks for this. So I pulled the Dark Grimoire, so that's a low Scarabeo deck, and I also pulled, if anyone recognises it, the Mind's Eye Tarot. So they're both mass market decks, but these two kind of represent, I suppose, in a way, my favourite genre because they're slightly eerie, slightly spooky. I don't like to scare myself to death, but I do like to watch something that has a little bit of, bite to it, bit of drama, some suspense, but not always complete horror. So I thought these decks kind of cover it quite well. This one's perhaps more on the darker side to this one. Hence the reason why I couldn't quite make up my mind. But yeah, I think they do represent, in a way, a lot of the stuff I probably watch on TV. So those are my kind of like favourite genres. You'll always see me picking up something that's got werewolf, vampire, mystery, myth, demon-esque kind of qualities to it, I suppose, to pass time on the telly. So yeah, that's number one. Right, let's get number two ready. Okay, question two. What is a deck that represents my favourite movie? So I won't flip through all of them, but if I put these down, that might give you an idea of where I'm going. It's in the Corvid family. So I've shown this one a lot lately. Actually, I've shown this one a lot lately, but hey ho, this is one I've chosen to flip through. Wisdom of the Raven by Edward Neal. Is it Edward Neal? James Neal Edwards? Anyway, this one's on Etsy. Hang on a minute, wait. Oh dear, there we go. J. Edward Neal, yeah. And these are the backs. So The Crow is one of my all-time favourite films. I think it's, I find it very romantic. I think it's a lovely little romance story in there. So just because of the birds, really, although it says Raven, I thought we'd take this one as something different to look at again. Kind of, I suppose, highlighting my like for slightly darker looking, gothy, moody decks. But the artwork in this is amazing. I've talked about this actually in the picture book decks, which was another tag created by Angel at Feeding My Soul. And that one was quite fun actually, when I started linking up picture book decks that I keep on my shelves to the decks that I have on my shelves as well. It sort of started to show the correlations between where the love of these may have come from, like what would have inspired me to pick these up and put them on the shelves. So that's another one. If I remember, I'll link that down below, but if not, that is on my playlist, so you can find that one easily. That's a fun one if you haven't joined in with that one as well. So yeah, so this is my kind of favourite movie. I've probably got 10 favourite all-time top 10 movies, but The Crow is probably my most favoured because I have the soundtrack to it. Number 3, a deck that represents my favourite colour. Well, blue is my favourite colour, so this one doesn't really come out ever. I thought this might be the time to show you this one as well. So yeah, blue is absolutely my favourite colour. This is the extra cards that you get in this deck. It's completely in order. I don't use it. But I just thought we could show off some gorgeous artwork in different shades of blue. I was going to put the aqueductical out as well, but I decided to stick to a very definite shade because navy and sky blue are more my shades than turquoise. But yeah. And for those who don't know, this comes with the 10 oracle cards attached to it, which I believe is being made into a deck at some point. Watch this space. I thought it was coming out this year, but I might have read too much into Patrick's kind of hints about, because there's 3 decks coming. And we have the Beasts pack in this one as well. So I think that's probably enough of showing those. What do you think? I guess if you've not seen the Beast pack, you'd be interested to see what they are. I'll just quickly see if we can get through. So it's like a replacement to the Triumphs in the deck. So you can use them as separate. Some people use them as oracle cards. Some people use them as archetypes rather than the trumps in the deck already. I haven't really worked with them much because I just couldn't remember them. So I always need the book to remind me what they're called and kind of what they represent. But they're just a fun thing to have in your deck. To swap things up a bit, to give you a different reading, I suppose, for your mages. And then we go into the standard deck. Okay, let me just pop these away. Okay, so the next prompt, a deck that represents my childhood self. So I've gone with this one. Why? Because this was a big part of my kind of formative junior school years, I think. It's probably the easiest way of putting it. Around the time that you kind of become slightly more influenced, so I can't remember what years it came out, to be perfectly honest, but lots of us, like the boys in the class, were collecting these, like collector's cards. So this is very nostalgic, reminds me a lot of collector's cards, and they were hilarious. It was something we probably shouldn't have been collecting, but you had at the time, you had the Cabbage Patch Kids. So these aren't to be confused with the Cabbage Patch Kids. And then you had the Garbage Pail Kids. And in amongst those, the ones from my childhood that most kind of stuck in my minds from the books was, they had one called, because they're very wrong, they're very non-PC. So I had Machine Gun Mike. So you'd have your Garbage Pail Kid, and you'd have your name of what you've got for your collector's cards. So we had Machine Gun Mike, and the other one was called Fagash Lil. Those two, I think, because we used to pair them up, or I can't remember if they were a pair, like a couple. But yeah, I remember those two the most. And then there was just some other ones. I mean, they were gruesomely gross, but fascinated me. I wasn't allowed to collect them, of course. They weren't cheap as a collector's item anyway. But yeah, they were one of the things that I remember strongly. It's a very strong memory from my junior school days. Junior school, for those who aren't from England, junior school, you leave school age 11 at junior school, and then you move up to what we used to call secondary school, or year 7. So you leave junior school year 6, and then year 7 you join your secondary school. So yeah, the Garbage Pail Kids. with these great, fun, nostalgic images. I mean, the ones for this deck have been recreated, so I think majority may have been recreated, and certainly new ones have been made for this deck as well. I don't recall all of these images, and I don't actually remember how long, because I wasn't allowed to collect them, how long the Garbage Pail Kids was collected for or produced, how many years it's in production. I mean, it was definitely around for 2 or 3 years, but that could just be because, once it's kind of done its cycle, people then bringing it in, swapping it and collecting, changing with each other, like the football cards really. But yeah, these ones were the alternatives to football collectors, I suppose. So yeah, there we go. Garbage Pail Kids. How many of you have this deck? And how many of you bought it just because your childhood? Because that's the only reason I bought this originally, was like, I need that. So let's get the next one ready. Okay, so what deck represents my teenage self? So we've done childhood self, now teenage self. So for me, my teenage self, I pulled out these decks by Domonic Murphy because I don't know. I mean, I've always had a slightly eclectic style about me in my tastes of things. So it's never been easy to pinpoint exactly what it is. Like some people had a very definite band. I sort of did and I sort of didn't. Let's just do this one first, shall we? Oh, morning sun's coming. So this art is so intricate, I think it's better if you come down. So yeah, so these decks, have not worked out how to use these. I really haven't. He's got great write-ups on his website for these, but I can't get them to work or read properly on my mobile phone. So I think I need to do something with a desktop to take them down and put them onto a PDF so I can then carry it on my phone when I'm reading. That's my only kind of downside with these. And they're numbered differently as well, completely differently. So you do need the guidebook to be able to read these. But the artwork in these are definitely very, very strange. You can just see by the numbering, look. So, yeah, so as I was saying, when I was growing up, just have a look through the other deck. Just when we put this one away. I had kind of that alternative, especially with my music. So, just show my age, won't it? So, Bros was my all-time absolute favourite band when I was about 10. Infatuated, in fact, I could say, but didn't live near them. So, therefore, I wasn't part of this strange kind of phenomena that started about then, actually, where people were following bands around and hanging outside their... I mean, it was there when my parents were growing up, but it seemed to have got worse. They seemed to bring like a new version, a new wave of crazed people with them, following them around. So they were like my first like crush on a band. Poison. I mean, I just fancied Bret Michaels as well, to be quite honest, back then. So Matt Goss and Bret Michaels were my like just beautiful people. But then we had, Kylie Minogue kind of came out. We had Transvision Vamp, loved her music, loved her kind of style. She was much more edgy than Kylie Minogue. But Kylie was off Neighbours and she's all kind of pop and clean and lovely. There's other bands that I had like Cyndi Lauper, loved her stuff. We had Europe, Whitesnake, Midge, Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, what's the other one? Ultravox. Yeah, still some of my most favourite, probably most played kind of playlists and songs. Paul Hardcastle. The Scorpions, as I was growing up through my teenage years, became quite big. Had Extreme, obviously Bon Jovi. I mean, it'd be hard to not acknowledge Bon Jovi in that era, because we had Keep the Faith album, so that was massive at that time. But I was more into, which is probably why these decks link a little bit into that. So I was more into the rave scene. And I mean the proper rave scene, not today's disco rave scene. So, because that's when it was, wasn't it? The true age of the rave was when I was growing up, like in the early 90s, end of the 80s. We had acid house moving into, the rave. Well, I liked like hardcore rave. So we had like DJ Death, Slipmatt was a very big favourite of mine. And we had, your MCs. MCing became a really big thing. And when I used to go to London to see my family, I would sit and I would spend ages recording the London pirate stations. We had to like scan the waves to find the pirate stations, and I'd sit there and I'd record those, which I thought was just fantastic that you could do that. And so I always had like the underground, kind of underground tape decks, if you want, sat there recording on my uncle's stacking system. So yeah, so these kind of remind me of those reminiscent times of my life. Okay. So the next question is about then, so we've done childhood, teenage, so of course it's only right we move into the adult self. For my adult self, I have just pulled out the Star Tarot, second version. The mass market. I think I need to just block some light. Hang on. Okay, let's try this. The light's going to come in fast, so that'll teach me for doing it too early. So here is my adult self. And I've chosen the Star Tarot because, to me, with the concept of the merging in this deck, the kind of stars that it's merged, that's how I feel now as an adult, is merging everything that I've done, been, and who I'm becoming. So this, I thought, was a nice way to indicate that. And this is actually one that I have talked about a lot, and I do find the concept of this deck really enjoyable. I love the colours. I love how it merges the Thoth with kind of RWS imagery, and also it grounds in some kind of shamanic imagery or feelings to it, making it feel more earthy, a bit more practice-centred maybe. It just feels like it has a more spiritual take and vibe to it, which I like, rather than just a divinatory reading aspect to it. So I feel this is my adult self. This is me becoming my adult self, which I should be by now, right? Given the dates and hints that I've already given you. So yeah, so this is the one I picked as my adult self. It's just beautiful. I really enjoy this deck. But like all my decks, I have too many, and working with them all in real time, they just don't come around often enough. I should attempt to cull my shelves, but I've already done that. I took 10 off my shelves last year, and I gave them away. But I don't feel like I have anything else left that I want to particularly just remove and get rid of, just because there's a lot on the shelf, if that makes sense. I actually cherish all of my decks that are there. Okay, so Star Tarot. So music now, I've decided to go with the Dark Angels for me, again, because, as I've said, slightly eclectic in my taste, and it's got that kind of moody. So I've been listening lately to a lot of sort of classical music, but dark cello music. The names escaped me already, but there's a couple of, I think if you just type in dark cello, actually, you'll get 2 artists, and they've got some really amazing music. And this, to me, sort of pulls in that vibe from the dark cello. But that's just something that I have been listening to, and a lot of kind of more grungier music, like Linkin Park. I'm calling it grungy. I think it's grungy, as opposed to the grunge scene. It's kind of gritty, it's raw. So yeah, so this is the deck that I've pulled to represent that for me. And again, I really like the imagery. I mean, this could have done probably any of the startup decks that I've done already. It's to be honest, but I do like this one. Has kind of, I suppose, like semi-goth vibes to me, or maybe very gothy vibes. Yeah, it's the kind of era of music that I'm listening to at the moment. And talking of era, I do like listening to era, ERA. So that's my music to make you dance. You know, you don't get all the cards out of your box. You've got to try and get your deck back together without it being upside down back to front. Okay, so that's that one. So my book genre, so my favourite book genre that I'm reading at the moment, it's all leading into each other, is romantasy. So I'm going to put down the Tarot of the Vampires by Charles Harrington. I'm using that to help block out the light if you just saw it sneak in there on my desk. So another great deck. Yeah, so here's my romantasy. I listen to a lot of stuff based on this kind of thing. What have I got going on at the moment, audiobooks wise? Crescent City. Yeah, I think we're on book 2 or 3 with Crescent City. So this one kind of reminds me of those sorts of things. You know, it's lots of angels, finding their powers, fey worlds. It's got vampires in it. And I'm also listening to another one on Pocket FM, which is vampire based, My Vampire Blood or Vampire Life or something. So this one is my romantasy type thing. It's kind of vivid, it's bright, it pulls in, you know, it draws a lot in the imagination, without it being gory and, you know, too overly raunchy is how I see this deck, because I know that some of these fantasy fairy tales can be like really overly saucy. I don't think you need that all the time. So we've got, you know, aspects of what feel like warriors as well in here. But this deck definitely represents Crescent City to me right now. By Sarah J. Maas. So this is my favourite book genre. Okay, so for TV show, I have gone with Supernatural because it's based on a TV show. And it'd be daft to not pull this one. A very favourite TV show. I watched it from the beginning, watched all the episodes. Yes, I was watching it for the full, I think, did it actually span 15 years, or it was 13 series or something. So this one, absolutely love this. I will pick it up again at some point and rewatch it, but you know, I kind of already, when I start watching it, I already know what's happening, and sometimes I don't need to do that throughout an entire series, if that makes sense, because there's no comedy to it. So it's not one that I find easy to just sit down and watch mindlessly. Although, you know, let's face it, it's got 2 reasonable aspects to it for why I might want to mindlessly watch it. But yeah, so I picked this one. But other great TV shows I probably could have based some decks on would have been like growing up. So my TV shows as I grew up went from Rent-A-Ghost, which I absolutely loved, with Dobby the horse, and I can't remember who it was. Was it the Joker? Every time he sneezed, he disappeared and then reappeared somewhere else in the house. Absolutely brilliant concepts. Yeah, we had the Pink Windmill, Emu, that was it. Just trying to think. And then, you know, kind of as you start to grow up, we had Fawlty Towers, started to influence my TV comedy side of things, and Buffy. Well, yeah, Buffy came first. Then we had Angel. Absolutely loved Angel. Who else? Just trying to think through now. And then obviously, I suppose growing up a bit more, we had the Vampire Diaries, the originals, the new Teen Wolf, and of course Supernatural that we're looking at now. That sunlight is going to destroy this. I think I'm now realizing why my set time for filming is after the sun's moved around to the other side of the house and not coming in through the window behind me. So I might have to move the camera again. Okay, so we're getting out. I've had to move almost to the very edge of the table. So this is my pastime or hobby. So I've picked the Everyday Witch, as you can see here, because it's got so many things in it, really. It's got like spending, saving, being outside with the stars, connecting to, you know, the nature aspects of practice rather than divination aspects of practice. Reading, spending time, you know, reading, picking up what's going on, practicing. Practice makes perfect. This is me for most of my life, but there's a depiction in the pictures, in the cards, is more me. It's got things like yoga in here as well. Oops, I destroyed it. Whoops. Now we're gonna have to rebuild it. So I put this one out because this is kind of what it reminds me of. It combines everything. So my practicing divination, my practicing being more authentic in the natural world, using the word witch in terms of natural practice, not stereotypical spellcasting practice. You don't have to be a spellcaster to be a witch, right? You can just be that person in total control of themselves. So yeah, this one, it's got gardening, green fingers, family time. It's got a lot of what we do in our downtime in it. I do like sitting out by bonfires. I enjoy going out and having fun with my friends. Here we are. This is what we're doing. Hopefully that makes it obvious as to why I picked this one. So this is my pastimes and hobbies. Here's how you'll find me a lot of the time. I know that says 9 of Swords, but take away the word 9 of Swords. But this is me this is me right now, surrounded by decks instead of books. So yeah. Oh, that sunshine. There you go. Hopefully I'm not blinding you. Okay, next prompt is my favourite holiday destination. So I've put 2 decks down here because these are both my favourite holiday destinations. The Prague, Tower of Prague, and the Caribbean for Oneness, Tower of Oneness. So 2 very different reasons. One's for the Gothic architecture and the medieval city. The other one is just simply for the colours and the food. So flip that over. This is the recent release of Tower of Prague from Baba Studios. So what I can't do is do it with 2 hands, because watch what happens when I move my light source block. I really am trying all the tricks right now to keep the sun out. So this one, she says, obviously the backs, the edges, gorgeous, but the bright colours in this are what reminds me of the Caribbean. It kind of has this tropical feel, and I've had some amazing holidays on Barbados and St Lucia. Probably not ones I need to repeat, but I just really enjoyed myself when I was there, so that's why I put this one down. And then obviously for the Tower of Prague, it's very obvious, it's the city in the background, which I had an amazing time there, and I didn't get to explore everything I wanted to do because it was a short city break, but I do wish to go back and do it again in a different weather, so I can experience, more of the city as I walk around it. So that's why I pulled out these 2 as my favourite holiday destinations. Up until recently, this was I suppose a unicorn deck, but one that I didn't even bother putting on a unicorn list because I never, ever, ever in my wildest dreams expected to be able to get hold of it. And now I do. So I suppose dreams can come true. I mean, obviously it's not cheap, but so these 2 are my holiday destinations. These are my favourite holiday destinations. Right, so my favourite flowers, I can come up this way a second while the clouds are out, is a rose, is my favourite, one of my most favourite flowers, and closely followed by daisies and lilies. Daisies are just so happy, and lilies, lilies because they smell gorgeous. So tiger lilies. So of course Rose TDL because of the name, inspiring. And again, I know I've shown this many times, and yes, you have already seen the blue version of this today. So yes, I have a few of these, for those wondering. But this would be my flower, so the rose, or even a peony, I guess, because they're nice and pink coloured. But I just simply went with it because of a name. At the end of the day, every rose has its thorn. So there we go. This is my mashed up deck, so I've combined illustrated pips with the original TDL to create this deck that I work with. In case you're wondering if you've got an eagle eye, why it looks so different. That's why. So that's 2 decks merged into one to create my working deck. So Trionfi della Luna, Rose. Now then, so favourite scent. And again, through my ages, I've had many perfumes, of course, but I had basic ones. So I had ones that, like your signature scent, if you want for a better word. So I have the signature scents that I have. And just again, kind of like going through nicely, starting with, I had Trésor was my first perfume. The one in the Smells of Peaches came in a little triangular bottle by Trésor Lancôme. By Lancôme, the house. So that was my first one. And then from Trésor, I moved into Cool Water. Just to tell you about these decks, actually, before I do anything else. So I have the Otherkin by Shiloh Thompson. And we have a purple version to the pink version that you've just seen, in case you think I'm showing you the same deck. I'm not. This one again is also in order because I don't use it. So we've got the same cards on top here. So yeah, so as I was saying, after Trésor, Cool Water was a favourite of mine. Turn these the right way up. What am I doing? So Cool Water became a favourite for me, and I enjoyed wearing that perfume by Davidoff. I also enjoyed the adverts that came with the Davidoff because it was more for the male Cool Water perfume. They had some very nice looking models in those adverts, climbing out of the water, might I add. Entertaining my late teenage self. And then Cheruti 1881, which is still my signature scent to today. So I don't really wear Trésor anymore. I sometimes go back to Cool Water, but it's a very summery, light, sweet scent. But Cheruti 1881 is the one that I do go back to. That one I will still buy in 100ml bottles and keep in the bathroom as a favourite. So this one is, I decided, my Cheruti deck. For my most signature scent. And then I went through a period of wearing Ultraviolet by Paco Rabanne, which came in a round bottle. And this is my Ultraviolet deck, basically, because it goes under an ultraviolet light as well. How cool is that? So yes, we have my two, my most signature scent followed closely by the second signature scent that I might wear. And then in between all of that, I wear a lot of others because, we like to smell nice, and I don't like perfumes that completely overpower the senses. And a couple that I found recently have stopped being made, which that winds me up. So that's why I come back to ones that I know and trust. I hate it when they just discontinue a perfume. You're like, yep, this is it. This is my next decade of scent. And then, nope, sorry, you only had it for 2 years. How frustrating. But again, you're going through the extra cards in the deck with me. That's what I meant to do for you. So yeah, don't get this one out often enough either, actually. I think it's probably been 12 months since I've worked with this one. We're coming into the kind of summery feels there, so yeah, so there we go. Those are my scents. We're nearly there. Okay, I've just realised I've missed the one with the deck A deck for the decade that you were born. I only have one deck to represent this, and it's probably a little bit more exact than the decade that I was born. But I have the Alchemy Tarot, England, 1977. It's a Fournier deck, so it's smaller than your average tarot deck. I'll keep it on this side to try and keep the sunlight out, which is now making another appearance on me. It's nice, dark and gothic. I recently used it to do, so it's in order. So I recently used it to do a flip through for the hashtag with 78 porters. It was like the major arcana, like running them off against each other. So it's very gothic. It's a pip deck, which I didn't mention in that because we were only, it was a Battle of the Trumps. So Battle of the Mages. So I didn't really mention the fact that it was pip deck for people who may have been influenced by that one. But it is a pip deck, and it's 1, the year I was born, 2, it's gothic, 3, and fantasy, 3, it's pip deck. So it's got, for me, a lot of good vibes and reasons to be in my collection. So here we go. So 2 of Pentacles, here's your 3. I suppose in a way, now that I'm looking at this and I've had out the supernatural, this sort of feels like it was something the supernatural creator was trying to do, but they just didn't really get there. But the pips in this are boring. I'm not going to pretend that they're not. The court cards are quite interesting, but the pip cards are lesser. They're not even what I would class as maybe semi-illustrated pips. Pentacle suit for some reason always seems to get bad rap. Obviously it's like the blood suit here we're going through for the cups. But if you want to see a walkthrough of this one, because I've never done a walkthrough of this one, Giselle Madwich has recently done that. I suppose I should just show the pips for the last. I like the way the roses are kind of overlaid in this one. So that is the Alchemy Tarot, England, 1977. There you go. 2 to go. Yes, last two. So foods. A deck to represent foods. Favourite foods. I don't think that's a particularly easy one to answer. So I've gone with the Spectrowhirl because I believe in tasting the rainbow. That's it. I like salads, Mediterranean foods, tapas type foods. So this one just felt like the eat the rainbow, because tapas salads are to me they are rainbow foods. That's how I like to prepare them, as many colours as possible in my salads. Flavours to burst, make it really kind of tangy and wholesome and delightful to eat. And I'm a big fan of putting things like kiwi fruits, strawberries, mangoes and pomegranates, apples onto my salads as well, as my work colleagues have noted, and they always bring that extra pop of something, that extra special something to my food. They make the greens kind of look more appetizing as well when you've got multiple leaves in your salad. So this is my Taste of the Rainbow deck for favourite foods. Of course, I like things like stews and stuff, but I don't have a brown deck. Well, I suppose the Alchemy Tarot might have done that. So again, another pip deck available on Etsy, this one. I should have said the TDLs are direct from Patrick Valence's website at deviantmoon.com. All of the TDLs that you've seen, they're not available anywhere else. If you are getting from anywhere else, it's probably a knockoff and fake deck with a barcode, and you won't get an explanation to the cards, just a warning. So my favourite beverage, this is the last one, we're on to the last one, we are in it. I've gone with this one. I need to bring it back out again because it was a larger deck. There you go. This is the Moonchild Shadow Edition because it's opulent, basically. I've pulled it out because it's opulent for my favourite drink. So my favourite drink is a porn star martini. Would be one of my favourite types of drinks. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's a very fancy drink. It's a little bit creamy. It's very tangy. It's very tasteful. It's got passion fruit in it, which I love. A passion fruit. I could just eat those all day long. But they are not cheap to get hold of. They're quite expensive, and therefore a slightly more specific taste range, I suppose. Not everyone likes passion fruit, I'm aware of that. So I'm going to put this one down. But alongside that, I also enjoy Long Island iced tea. And I feel that's a bit more dark and moody, and this has that dark and moody aspect to it. And my most treasured, kind of enjoyed, opulent drink is champagne. I mostly only drink Lansons because I like it. It's my favourite flavour of the ones that I've tried, and again, it's a special occasions type of drink. So if it's my birthday, I will have a bottle of Lansons in the house. So I buy champagne for birthdays and Christmas for myself, to treat myself. So this is my deck to do that. But I feel that this deck is both. So with the Porn Star Martini, the champagne, they're kind of opulent and feminine. The Long Island iced tea brings me back down to kind of that earthiness of it. So I feel that this sort of ticked all of those boxes from an image aspect in the cards. So it's feminine, it's kind of airy, floaty, but has a nature of grounding to it. It's got some earthier tones to it. And that's why I picked this one. And of course, the major decadence being the backs. It's always been the backs of this deck for me. I think they are gorgeous. And yeah, I probably will get rid of my white Moonchild deck, my original one, because this is one that I absolutely prefer out of the decks. So that's it, guys. Those are my 16 decks for the 16 prompts from Angel at Feeding My Soul. How many would you have picked to do this that I've put down? Like, literally, how many of these would you have probably pulled out? I am dead curious. And also, how many of you knew what I was even talking about? Like, I can completely understand some of this would be way over people's heads because, different age groups bring different things, right? Different parts of the world bring different things to the conversation. So I've really enjoyed this. So thanks, Angel. Sorry it's a long one. I hope you've enjoyed looking through the decks, and I don't know whatever I've witted about throughout this, because I apologise if it didn't make any sense. But I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.